Hello and happy Yule! Welcome back to my channel. It is finally my favorite time of the year. And so what we're going to be talking about today is actually answering your questions about Yule. So I did a poll on Instagram, and so I'm going to be putting up some of those questions and answering them for you so that you may have a better understanding of how to celebrate Yule, especially for people getting into it for the first time. Question number 1. What exactly is Yule? Yule is a celebration of the winter months, mainly celebrated in Scandinavia. However, it's not limited to just Scandinavia. It is also celebrated in Germany, as well as the Baltic region. I believe it's also celebrated into Estonia and Finland. So it's celebrated in many places across Europe. And it was the traditional celebration of winter. Now, to what degree this tradition goes back, even all the way back into the pagan era, it's highly debated. However, many of the traditions that were carried into Christmas, even the ones practiced here in North America, many of these do come from these traditional celebrations across Central and Northern Europe. So question number 2 is, how do we celebrate it more authentically or historically accurate? So historically accurate is a little bit harder to grasp because if you're going all the way back to the pagan traditions of Scandinavia, our written source materials are very light for this time of year. Yule is mentioned quite a lot throughout the sagas of the Icelanders and within Heimskringla, which was recorded by Snorri Sturluson about the Norwegian kings. And so Yule is mentioned quite a lot. However, it's often mentioned in passing, and we're given very little detail in the written source material on what Yule really is. If you want to know more about this historical information, I do have an entire video called How to Celebrate Yule, which really dives into the differences between the historical and the modern. But I'll give you a quick summary of what we can determine from this historical information. 1. There was a celebration called Yule. 2. It took place sometime in winter. 3. This was a time of year that oaths were sworn, in particular in a story on the top of a pig or ham, so setting dedications for the next year seemed to be important. And then with that comes feasting and drinking, as oftentimes a Yule feast is mentioned within these historical records. And 4, there may have been dolphins involved in these feastings. This is something that is legitimate. One of the stories of Yule that I dug up through, I believe it was Heimskringla, mentioned someone wanting a dolphin for their Yule feast. And so there is definitely this idea of feasting, but maybe skip the dolphin this time of year. And so that's basically the historical information, at least what we can tell from the very, very old source material. And so where it gets a little bit muddled on the pagan to the Christian tradition is when we start talking about the cultural heritage of Yule. And this can go back still for hundreds of years. But what I mean by this is the traditions that are still celebrated by people in Europe today when it's considered a traditional celebration of winter or Yule. And so the first one of these I want to bring up is the Yule goat. This is something that many of you probably know about, but the Yule goat is something that is very prominent within Scandinavia, but has made its way across Europe. And the origins of this are shrouded in mystery for the most part, but we know they've been around for several hundred years. And one of the modern misconceptions of the Yule goat is that you burn them. So this is something that has primarily popped up within the West, within North America, is that you burn the Yule goat. But traditionally within Scandinavia, as it was brought to my attention by my Scandinavian friends, it is actually not considered appropriate to burn the goats. And so this is definitely something that is different between the traditional and the New Age, it seems. But again, this is going to change depending on your practice, your family, your tradition. And so burning or not burning the Yule goat is ultimately going to be up to you. But there might be some callbacks in the historical sources that may suggest that the Yule goat has been a part of society and culture for a very long time. Namely when it comes to this tale of Utgarda Loki, when Thor and Loki are traveling to Utgarda to speak with Utgarda Loki. And one of the strange aspects of Thor is that he can kill and eat his goats as long as they are, I believe, burned and then brought back to life. And so there's this idea of the goats and rams of Thor being used as a meal in times of need. So there could be something connecting Thor's goats with the Yule goat. But I don't think there's anything to prove of that connection, but it does seem pretty likely. You may notice that my voice sounds a little bit weird. I am in the middle of getting over a Yule cold, so my nasal and my throat are all sore, so I'm having to talk a little bit funny, but I'm kind of leaning into it, and I hope you're enjoying it as well. So another tradition that has gone back for many hundreds of years, and again the origin is very highly debated, is Santa Claus, and whether or not Santa Claus is a pagan story in its original incarnation, eventually changed into this jolly old man that delivers gifts to the children. A lot of people think that Santa Claus is just a version of Odin, and a lot of people suggest that because the Wild Hunt legends take place a lot at winter time, is that the story of Odin riding in the Wild Hunt is combined with Odin riding with the reindeer and the sleigh, and then there is some legends combining Santa Claus with Sinterklaas in the Netherlands, and then he has his little helpers go down the chimneys, and that's where it gets kind of weird very quickly, if you know anything about Sparta Pete. But there is some origins and some suggestions that this Odin-like figure could have been Sinterklaas or Santa Claus. But regardless of this debate that will probably never be settled on the origins of Santa Claus, is that when you look at what Santa Claus really is, he's a white-bearded old man that rides around once a year on his magical sleigh to deliver children toys and gifts, and also to enact punishment upon the bad children. This doesn't seem a very Christian figure. This definitely seems to be a little bit more traditional and pagan in origin. So ultimately it's going to be up to you what you believe the origins of Santa Claus is, but it is very peculiar on this white-bearded old man visiting children from around the world. Sadly, I've never been able to travel in Europe during the winter time, but I do know that there are Christmas markets that go up all around Europe, and apparently they're absolutely gorgeous. Everything I've seen from videos and pictures, they just definitely feel warm and cozy at heart. And so while it's, again, really hard to say, are these pagan in origin, I don't want to say that definitively, but these Christmas markets with homemade goods, baked goods, cinnamon, sweets, and all these things are at the core of traditional Christmas or traditional Yule, and so I think it's definitely something to take part in if you're able to. I know there's markets like that here in America as well. Question number 3. What are simple ways to celebrate Yule? So simple ways to celebrate Yule are very similar to how you celebrate Christmas. Just remove most of the modern commercialism that has come through it, and remove anything that does feel overly Christian or monotheistic, and you have the essence of what Yule is. Yule is about family. It's about feasting. It's about drinking. It's about reflecting on your family and your ancestors. Yule is about gift giving. And Yule is also about decorating and just in general the descent into the darker months. These descents into the darker months make us put on our warm coats, our warm scarves, our Yule hats, and get a little bit warm. And so in general, this time of year for most of the world makes us go inside, makes us spend more time with our family. And in a time before smartphones and TVs, the only thing we had when we retreated inside was our friends and family. And so playing games with them, board games, or reading, or exchanging gifts, that I highly recommend you try to make yourself. Now, this I know is difficult. It's difficult for me. I'm not that crafty. And so if you can't actually craft something yourself, I highly recommend finding an artist nearby to you that you feel like you can support and give smaller handmade goods to your friends and family, rather than going for the commercial crap, which is sadly where I'm filming right now, is in the middle of the commercial crap. It's one of the things I don't like about this time of year, is how commercial it has gotten. Seeing how far back the celebration goes. I remember they were putting up this tree behind me right after Halloween. And so it's just like, it feels like it's removing the magic of the season. And so I think Yule is a really good opportunity to bring back the tradition of the Christmas winter celebrations. And they don't necessarily have to be pagan. I think you can really bring these into any household to bring back the tradition and meaning of this season, which is family, love, togetherness, and just the darkness of winter and how it brings us all together. And so decorating is a really great way to get into it. Gift giving, spending time with your family, and then if you want to throw any magical elements into that, that is up to you. There's many different ways to throw some magic into this time of year, but nothing that again will be authentic or historically accurate for the most part, besides possibly focusing on Odin, the ancestors, and maybe the DC or the ancestor, female ancestor spirits or female spirits a little bit more. Another way to get into this time of year, if you don't necessarily do this already, but cooking is a really great way to really express yourself during the Yule season. Cooking really hearty and warm, delicious foods, cooking things with lots of butter and cinnamon. This is when we're supposed to hibernate. We're all wearing coats so we can get a little fatter on the inside and then shed the weight a little bit in the spring, hopefully. But this time of year is about putting abundance when possible so that we can hibernate a little bit. And that's something that I highly recommend you really go into this mindset thinking about Yule. Yule is about hibernation, the closest humans get to it. Because in the ancient past, especially in times in Scandinavia and Northern Europe, this time of year would really force you to slow down. Question number 4, how to celebrate Yule in a non-pagan household. So this is a question I got quite a bit. This is a question I get fairly often. So you have a Christian family or just a non-pagan family, and you want to celebrate Yule. Well, I don't think the answer. I see memes all the time that are like, 3 drinks in, and you're describing the pagan origins of Christmas. Hopefully, as you've seen in this video, the pagan origins of Christmas are highly debatable. Only a few of them are really traceable to historical sources. And just creating debate is kind of against the spirit of Yule, in my opinion, and from what I understand of Yule in this time of year. And so creating debate around the family feasting table should not be your goal. But you can sneak in small little elements of Yule or these pagan elements into your Christmas Yule celebrations with your family, and I don't think they're going to notice, and I think it's going to make you feel closer to this time of year. The first one I've kind of mentioned already, and that is talking about your ancestors, because this is something that definitely was done in the ancient past, and something that is done often in pagan households and pagan celebrations of Yule is talking with your family about your ancestors. And this is something that every family should be interested in. It's something I do with my non-pagan family. Is I ask, hey, who was your grandmother? Who was your grandfather? What was his name? What did he do with his life? I really try to do this with my oldest family members because it really makes me feel closer to them, and I think it helps them feel closer to me as well, that I'm asking these questions. Our elders and our grandparents are a wealth of knowledge in our families, and this time of year can really give you the opportunity to sit down with them and ask about as far back as they can go. I think it's really fun to see how far back their memories can go. I was talking to my grandfather about this, and he was talking about his great-grandfather. And by the time we got to his great-grandfather, we're talking about events that happened in like the 1880s. And so I think you'd be really interested to see how far back these ancestral conversations can go around the family table in a non-pagan household. So as I already mentioned, of course, gift giving, but changing the way you give gifts, moving away from commercial crap and moving more to traditional. I hope you respect the fact that I came out here in the cold wall having a cold to make this video for you, because I really wanted to have this season of Yule celebration videos, because I really do love this time of year. So if you look on the channel right now, I've changed the banner, I've changed my icon, and I've added the Yule celebration playlist right there at the top of my channel. I've made several videos over the years because I really do love this time of year. So I really hope you check out the playlist I made for you. I really hope you enjoy these themed videos this winter, and I didn't want to miss out on the first one, so that's why I'm out here in the cold, probably making my sickness worse, but I wanted to hang out with all of you and talk about Yule, because I really do love this time of year. So another piece of advice I have for you when it comes to celebrating Yule in a non-pagan household, and this is something, again, I tried recently with my family, and it's something I had to get a little forceful with. I was sitting with my family in the living room, and we had a slight lull in conversation. I'm talking like 2-second lull in conversation. And right away, my father went to turn on the TV and put on something on the TV, like some absolute bullshit on the TV, not even like anything themed. And I looked at him and I'm like, can you not deal with silence? Can you not deal with a lull in conversation? Do you have to have this background noise? And I did kind of snap at him, like, why is that your reaction? Kind of questioning him on that. I was like, no, let's talk as a family. Let's talk. And then luckily I got about another 30 or 40 minutes of us all just sharing and talking with one another before the TV came back on. But I do think that our families and our Western mindset really do fall into these patterns of needing to have screens on nowadays. And so really try to get onto your family about this. Say, no, I don't want the screen on. If you do, try to put on something ambient, like an ambient fireplace video or an ambient music video, just something that allows conversations to continue to happen. So really try to turn the screens off this time of year and focus on your family together. So this next one kind of goes together, but do things with your family. So when it comes to decoration, decorate with them. And try to do traditional decorations. Try not to do, again, commercial plastic crap. Do things that are a little bit more real trees, real holly, real cinnamon, baked goods, lots of this stuff, and really try to bring these natural elements into the household. This is a really sneaky thing to do because, of course, bringing natural elements, you're like, this is making it slightly more pagan. Oh, it's more Yule now. But you are doing it under the nose of your non-pagan family, and they're going to love it too because it's going to look more traditional. And I think everyone prefers the more traditional look. It's just we're a little bit lazy nowadays, and we'd rather buy the plastic crap and then throw it away or make it only last a year because it's just easier. But ultimately, I think the real stuff makes us feel a little bit closer. I don't think this is real. Nope, it's not real. Another thing, as I already mentioned, is cooking is a really good way to connect with your family. Again, this might sound misogynistic, I'm sorry if it does, but typically in most households, the women are the keys of the kitchen. They are the cooks. This is just how things fell. And so this could be a really great way to connect to the women in your family, because oftentimes I find the men in the family are not the cooks. They're just the turkey carvers. They're just the ham carvers. And women typically fall into the keepers of the keys, the keepers of the recipes. This is something, again, I did with my mother this year. I said, no, let me help. And I made the sweet potato casserole. It's something I did with my grandparents. I said, no, let me make the chicken and dumplings. Let me make the biscuits and gravy. Because I think you're going to really regret not learning these recipes when your family is gone and not able to do these things. I think I take great pride in being the recipe holder of my family. It's something I'm really trying to do, is collect these recipes so they may live on in the next generation when I have children of my own. And so I think this can be something for you to connect to your family, and again, further connecting to this theme of this season. So learning the recipes, continuing them on, and working and helping cook these things as well. All right, now a difficult question is, when do you celebrate Yule? The reason this is difficult is because there's about 3 different answers. So the historically correct answer is the first full moon after the winter solstice, I believe, or the final full moon of the 13-month calendar. And this is because in ancient Scandinavian times, Germanic times, and most of Central and Northern Europe, they followed things by the lunar cycle rather than the solar cycle. And so a lot of the times holidays were held either on the new moon or the full moon, because these were times that people could tell easily. And so Yule was more than likely celebrated on the full moon of the final month, the final part of the year, or commonly, basically, right, the first full moon after the winter solstice. So this is more traditional, I believe, this time of year, coming into 2023. This is actually like January 5th or something like that. I'll put it up right here. By Ymir's tits, it is getting cold out here. But what you're more than likely going to do is you're going to do something around Christmas. And this is simply because this is the time of year that we get off from our jobs, is we get December 25th, maybe December 24th off. And so if you must celebrate Yule, that is perfectly fine. And of course, according to the Wicked Wheel of the Year, oftentimes Yule is celebrated on the December 21st. I have done it on the 21st, I've done it on the winter solstice, I've done it on the full moon, I've done it on Christmas. Ultimately, it's whatever works for you. I don't think there's any magical quality necessarily to celebrating it on the day of something. People are going to debate me on that, but I've had just as magical experiences on the 21st of December. I've had just as magical on the full moon, just as magical on December 25th. Question number 6. What is my favorite Yule tradition? So I'll have 2 answers here. The first one is just, in general, I love the ambience. Even though I'm out here freezing my hands off, I do really love just the look of it. I love even this fake Christmas tree. I love all the lights over here. You know, there's lights over here, lights down this way. There's lights behind me here. It's just a time of year people, like, you know, all the cheesy movies. I mean, what is it, like Love Actually, you know, talking about this time of year is lovely. It's full of magic and love. That is real. It sounds cheesy, but it's true, and I think we all feel that to some extent. And that's why I don't like the over-commercialization of Christmas, because I think we're digging too deeply into the well of love that comes from this time of year to try to make a quick buck. And so I really do think that we need to maintain and hold on to this magic, and I think Yule can play a really important role in that, because I absolutely love the ambience of Yule, even if I do have to listen to the same Christmas songs on repeat everywhere I go. Side note, there needs to be more Yule music. I know that Skald created their Yule album. That's really good. I know, I think Swulo may have a Yule song or a couple of Yule songs, but we need more Yule songs. Imagine a Yule song from like Heilung. Happy Yule, happy Yule. Yeah, it'd be great. We should do it. My second thing I'll add here is something that the Fellowship of Northern Traditions does. We have a lot of traditions we've done. We've done Yule. This is like our 4th or 5th year doing Yule now, so we've definitely come up with some traditions. We always do Suna night, the Sol Day, Heimdall, whatever you want to call it, but where we stay up all night to see the morning sunrise. It honestly is painful. It's only gotten more painful every year. Last year was rough doing that, but seeing everyone stick together, or you know, half the people stick through and go through one of the longest nights of darkness in the year. It can be a challenge. It can be a lot of fun. It can lead to really some amazing antics to try to keep each other awake. And of course, Yule hams. Yule hams have become a very prominent thing for us as well. We're doing another Yule ham feast, I believe. So we had a really good Yule feast at the Texas Yule last year, and the Ohio Yule as well. And I think we've had a few Yule ham feasts. So a good Yule ham. It's delicious. So question number 7. When is the sequel to A Yule Story releasing, and what is the progress on it? So I was very happy to see a couple people actually ask this question for real. I didn't ask someone to ask this. For if you don't know, I wrote a book about Yule because this is how much I love this time of year. So this is a Yule story, the first book I ever wrote, and I chose to write about Yule. This is because it means so much to me. So a Yule story came out last year, and it's a very simple tale, very easy to read. You can read it in a few hours. I would say it's for preteens and up, but I know there's nothing inappropriate in it, so you can read it to your children. It's a story about Eric getting tasked by Yule, which is basically Odin, to keep a magic log ablaze, and through this he might bring back his dead father. And so it's about family, it's about togetherness, it's about magic, all wrapped into this kind of Scandinavian idea as well. So if you're interested in checking out this book, please go down below. It really does help support this channel. I'd like to write more books, and so the sequel to this, A Midsummer Tale, is a little of the ways done. So I've written a few chapters to it. But it's one of those things that I got really busy this summer, and I just didn't have any time to write down. And I'm not going to release it, after summer. That's just not a really bright idea. And so my goal is to have A Midsummer's Tale, the sequel to A Yule Story, released here right before summer. So hopefully around May is my goal. But it's shaping up to be a really good story. And if you're interested in learning more about that, I do have a book supporter tier on Patreon that will get you a signed copy when that releases. And then also you get to have behind the scenes footage of the progress. I think I've already uploaded 1 or 2 chapters on there, so you can check that out. So yeah, truly any support for Yule Story would mean a lot, and the sequel should come out next year. And I'm hoping to have another book done by February, but we'll see if I have time. But truly, thank you all for the support of Yule Story over this year, and I hope it continues to be a book that people have on the shelf for Yules to come. Okay, so that is it. I hope this just didn't run it over too long. I really wanted to just have this fun little time talking to you about Yule, sharing the magic of this season. Again, I have many videos on my channel talking more in depth about certain topics here. I have a video about Krampus. I have a video on how to celebrate Yule by yourself. I have an in-depth video how to celebrate Yule. I have a live reading of the Yule story, and I'm going to have more content this year talking about Yule. So I hope this gave you somewhere to start if you're here on the channel for the first time, or gave you some ideas for your non-pagan households. Regardless, the most important thing is I wish you the happiest of Yules this year. I hope it's full of magic and warmth and family, because that is my absolute favorite thing about the winter months, is coming together to celebrate Yule and the traditions of this season. The last thing I want to leave you with is from a meditation I was doing the other day that really came to me, and it really spoke to me going into Thanksgiving. And so this is something I was reflecting on with my family. Wintertime shows the warmth of the sun leaving us. It goes away for quite some time. And so it's up to us, with the warmth in our heart and the love in our heart, to share that with other people, to keep each other warm during these cold times of the year. And so I want to open up my heart to all of you to help keep you a little warmer during this time of year, so that you can also go out and share the love and warmth that comes from following these traditions, because it is truly a beautiful thing. So let's keep the warmth, the love, and the magic alive at this time of year. And I'll see you in the next video here at the Wisdom of Odin as we discuss the celebration of Yule.